Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruptions, and then I will go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello, I'm Officer Washington with the St. Louis County Police Department's Public Information Office. This critical incident briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on December 12, 2021 in the 600 block of Tiffin Avenue in the city of Ferguson. As part of our commitment to transparency, we are about to show you relevant video footage, evidence, and our response related to this incident. Our goal is to provide you with a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know at this point in the investigation. The St. Louis County Police Department conducts thorough use of force investigations, which typically require detectives to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyzes a significant amount of forensic evidence. This portrayal is not intended to draw any conclusions about whether the officers involved acted consistent with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution. The images you're about to see may be disturbing and you may hear strong or coarse language. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or to defend against an attack, it could be graphic and difficult to watch. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Hello, I am Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Sack, Commander of the Division of Criminal Investigation. This is a brief overview of an incident that occurred on Sunday, December 12, 2021, at around 8:25 p.m. On that date, the Ferguson Police Department received a 911 call in the area of Beacon Avenue and Carson Road for a report of a suspicious person. The caller stated that a heavy-set black male wearing a white coat flourished a gun at the caller. Two uniformed officers from the Ferguson Police Department operating marked patrol vehicles responded to the area. At approximately 8:33 p.m., one of the responding Ferguson officers located a subject who matched the description near the intersection of South Harvey Avenue and Wesley Avenue. The subject, who was seen carrying a black and white backpack, fled from the officer and was last seen running behind the houses in the 100 block of South Harvey Avenue. The officer did not give chase. At 8:35 p.m., a second Ferguson police officer observed a subject who matched the description, lying on his stomach along the west side of a home at 618 Wesley Avenue. The police officer exited her vehicle to investigate. At that point, the subject got up and fled into the backyard of the residence. Both Ferguson police officers responded into the backyard. At approximately 8:36 p.m., 2 gunshots were fired at the 2 Ferguson officers. The investigation revealed the body-worn cameras assigned to the 2 responding Ferguson officers were not activated during this portion of the incident. However, the report of gunfire was captured by ShotSpotter.
ShotSpotter is a gunshot detection system used to reliably detect and accurately triangulate the locations of gunshots.
The Ferguson Police Department initiated an officer in need of aid call. Personnel from the St. Louis County Police Department, the North County Police Cooperative, and other surrounding law enforcement agencies responded to assist. Here is the radio traffic corresponding to the call for a suspicious person and the officer in need of aid call.
Respond to the area of Beacon and Carson. Beacon and Carson. Report of a heavy-set black male wearing a white coat. He apparently flourished a handgun at the caller. Caller does not want contact. He said something along the lines of the suspect was looking for Georgia.
Clear.
31, you can show me 10-8. I'll be en route. 31 clear, 10-8. 31 in the area. 31 clear.
56 at 1042.
Making contact at Wesley and Harvey. Clear making contact, Wesley and Harvey.
35 to 31. Do you have the subject?
Frank, 31. Subject took off running southbound on Harvey, in behind the houses.
Clear. Subject fled on foot southbound on Harvey, heading behind houses.
Ran behind 105 Harvey.
35 and 34 are out with it.
34, 35.
Black male, heavy set, black and white duff bag, shorts.
He's going down Wesley towards Marguerite. 618 North Marguerite.
31, are you out with the subject at that location?
We're in the rear of 618 Marguerite. Right here, 618 Carson.
618 Carson, clear.
Shots fired, shots fired.
Clear. All units, shots fired. Officers in need of aid. Shots fired. 2036 in the rear of 618 Carson.
33 on the route. 35, check on 34 and 31. I'm 1 block south of them. I'm 1.
Units advised. Unit advised.
We're 10-4, we're 10-4.
33, keep that a call in place with the perimeter possible. 35 to 34 and 31, do you have eyes on the subject?
Be advised, the subject was last seen on.
Negative, he went in behind this white fence. Right here.
33, see if we can get county helicopter out as well.
I got his book bag over here.
34 and 31, get behind some cover. Just keep your eyes open. 35, I'm at Tiffin and South Marguerite.
That's clear. He was last seen going behind the backyard, headed towards Tiffin. He still might be going down towards that area.
Frank, 31, just advised. Heavy set, black male, white t-shirt, shorts.
31, what perimeter areas you want set up with this?
Use.
All units be advised. I have multiple 911s, multiple phones, and all the radio traffic. Please stand by. 33, air unit is not up currently.
Yes, sir.
Just be advised, he may be laying in the backyard of one of these residents. He's moving extremely slow.
That's clear. What perimeter area do we have you want set up for this?
Let's see, headed towards Tiffin.
31 and 34. Find cover. Stay stationary. Just keep your eyes open.
33, county is inquiring where you want their officers to respond to.
We're going to do a perimeter, South Harvey, Wesley, Tiffin to Marguerite.
10-4.
Following the aid call, 2 St. Louis County police officers met in the 600 block of Wesley Avenue. The officers arrived in a marked patrol vehicle and were dressed in full department uniform. Simultaneously, 2 North County Police Cooperative officers worked to establish a perimeter and position themselves at the intersection of Tiffin Avenue and South Marguerite Avenue. Those officers also arrived in marked patrol vehicles and were dressed in full department uniform. Shortly after establishing a perimeter, the on-scene Ferguson and St. Louis County officers began searching the wooded area between the 600 block of Wesley Avenue and the 600 block of Tiffin Avenue. The officers reported hearing branches and leaves moving in the wooded area towards Tiffin Avenue. At the same time, a North County Police Cooperative officer observed a subject in white clothing emerge from behind the detached garage behind 627 Tiffin Avenue. Multiple officers gave verbal commands for the subject to show himself and his hands, but the subject did not comply. At 8:59 p.m., the subject fired 1 gunshot at a North County Police Cooperative officer. The officer returned fire, discharging his weapon once. The subject moved to the east side of 627 Tiffin Avenue and proceeded south toward the front of the residence. The second North County Police Cooperative officer moved east along the front of the residence, while 2 St. Louis County police officers and a Ferguson police officer approached from the rear yard of 627 Tiffin Avenue. The investigation revealed the second police cooperative officer confronted the subject, who remained armed with a handgun at the southeast corner of 627 Tiffin. The officer fired 11 gunshots. The two St. Louis County officers continued to approach. One St. Louis County officer fired 6 gunshots, while the other officer fired 2 gunshots. Body-worn cameras assigned to the 2 St. Louis County police officers, a Ferguson police officer, and 2 North County cooperative police officers captured the incident.
Body-worn cameras used by the St. Louis County Police Department are smart devices that fit securely into an officer's uniform. The cameras have a 30-second buffer of video without audio. Upon activation, the camera goes back 30 seconds and begins recording. The cameras are worn at chest level by most officers assigned to the Division of Patrol, and they capture a general perspective from that angle. Body-worn cameras do not capture everything the officer sees. Available lighting, movement, distance, and other factors can affect clarity and picture quality. Cameras worn by the Ferguson Police Department and the North County Police Cooperative are affixed to the outermost garment of the officer's uniform and worn approximately at chest level. They, too, have a 30-second buffer.
The following body-worn camera videos are of relevant footage directly related to the incident just described. You will see footage from the encounter and subsequent shooting from the North County Cooperative officers' body cameras, St. Louis County Police officers' body-worn cameras, and the Ferguson police officer body-worn camera.
Hey, there was some movement on the backside of this. One of ours or what? Yep.
$21.90 on law 1. Comms check. Grief Coy, you're loud and clear. 10-4,
Come on, let me see you! Let me see your hands! 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 No!
Line 33. Triple a day, shot fired. Triple a day. 168, you said shot fired.
Clear.
Shot fired, right. Check it. 631, shot fired.
Let me see your hands! Drop it! Drop it! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
Closing in on the suspect.
Guard EMS! EMS!
They have the suspect down right now.
You guys good? Where we at? You guys good? Where we at? This is Tiffin. This is Tiffin. Tillman. Tiffin.
627, Tiffin. That's where we need EMS. That subject is down.
Hold on. Hey. Some movement on the backside of this.
Somebody just walked back there.
One of ours or what?
Backside of the garage?
Right back there.
Pretty clear, loud and clear.
Come on, where I can see you! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand!
698, shot fired at me. Shot fired at me.
Cover in!
698, shots fired, shots fired! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop it!
Start EMS!
698, get EMS, get EMS.
EMS! Where we at?
I don't know this address. This is.
Where we at? Where we at? This is Tiffin. Tillman. Tiffin. What's on them straight?
That's where we need you to medfet. Subject is down.
.2113 radio check.
Alright. Yep, I got you. Where's that at? Go. Who's it?
Where you at? Where you at? Where you at?
Hands! Show me your hands! Show me your fucking hands! Show me your hands! Show your hands! Hands! Hey! 22 hold the station! Show me your hands! Start EMS! EMS! Where we at? I got it. Where we at? Where we at? We're straight. Tillman. Tiffin. What's on the straight? I don't see it. Is he on it? I don't know. Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Multiple shots fired. He might be on it. You guys on the gun? Where's the gun at? He might be laying on it.
I'm out here with the Ferguson officers who got shot at, and we have a book bag and shoes at 816 Wesley. We got a lot of branches breaking in the back of the yard. If we can get K9 over here.
That's clear. Backyard of 816 Wesley.
You got my left? Yep. What's going on? We got a lot of movement over here. .2002.
Last car calling.
.2002.
Car 2802.
Were you able to get a hold of a K9 unit or anything?
Stand by, we're attempting now.
Might be on you. Yep. Fuck. Go.
Where you at? Where you at?
Trying to get a better location.
Hands! 22 shots fired! Shots fired! Show your hands! 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 22 hold the station, shots fired! Start EMS! EMS!
They're starting EMS for shots fired. What is your location?
Where we at? Stay. Where we at? Where we at? Straight. Tillman. Tiffin. What's all those straight?
Part 2802, what is your location?
What is it?
Tiffin in South Margaret.
Tiffin in South Margaret.
Good.
Multiple shots fired.
That's fair. Multiple shots fired. Carson and Margaret.
Where's the gun at? You got both hands?
35. Got movement behind a house at Tiffin in South Marguerite.
Right up here.
Go.
Tiffin is off Marguerite. Tiffin is off Marguerite.
Where you guys at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Hands! Let me see your fucking hands! Let me see your fucking hands!
One crossfire.
Let me see your fucking hands! Shots fired! Start EMS! EMS!
Where we at? EMS. We're going to use the next out. I don't know this address. 618 Wesley. We're going to be in the rear.
Where we at? Where we at? We're straight. Tillman. Tiffin.
Paramedics were immediately summoned to the scene. The subject, now identified as Jeremy Moore, age 35, of the 3500 block of North Newstead in St. Louis, Missouri, was rendered life-saving aid by first responders, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Mr. Moore died at the scene. In total, 20 gunshots were fired by law enforcement officers. A handgun attributed to Mr. Moore was recovered on the scene by officers. The weapon is described as a Glock Model 23, .40 caliber. The handgun was located in the grass approximately 10.5 feet from Mr. Moore. Here is a still image taken by the crime scene unit of the firearm involved. A fired cartridge casing, which was recovered from the rear of 627 Tiffin Avenue, has been identified as having been fired in the Glock handgun attributed to Mr. Moore. A black and white backpack was recovered from the rear yard of the home in the 600 block of Wesley Avenue. It was in the same yard that Mr. Moore reportedly fired gunshots at Ferguson police. The backpack and its contents were seized as evidence. A search warrant was obtained and served. The search warrant revealed 4 boxes of .40 caliber ammunition. 25 cartridges were missing, leaving 175 of 200 cartridges. The caliber and brand of ammunition recovered from the backpack matched the ammunition found in the Glock handgun attributed to Mr. Moore. Also in the backpack was a substantial quantity of purported marijuana. The investigation revealed Mr. Moore was previously convicted of both felony and misdemeanor offenses. The investigation also revealed there was an active warrant for Mr. Moore's arrest at the time of this incident. The warrant was issued through the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Illinois, for felon in possession of a firearm. The St. Louis County police officers involved are 33 years of age with 9 years of law enforcement experience and 29 years of age with 7 years of law enforcement experience. The North County Police Cooperative officers involved are 26 years of age with 2 years of law enforcement experience and 40 years of age with 16 years of law enforcement experience.
The St. Louis County Police Department has all of its non-sensitive policies and procedures available online at www.stlouiscountypolice.com. The policies applicable to this incident and release of information are General Order 10-29, Use of Force, General Order 16-68, Public Information and News Media Policy, Special Order 20-394, Recording Devices. The St. Louis County Police Department will continue to investigate and analyze this incident for as long as it might take. Detectives will continue to interview any new witnesses that may come forward and document and analyze new evidence that is discovered. After the investigation is complete, the findings will be forwarded to the St. Louis County Prosecuting Attorney's Office for an independent review. Thank you for taking the time to view this critical incident community briefing.
All right. I have to say, this is a really good video. I think they did a really great job in doing a critical incident community briefing presentation. It's very well laid out. Good, clear, concise information. Good visual aids. Like, I really like how they had a map and then they drew little paths and stuff like that. They put markers where people were at, paths of travel like this and everything. Of course, the body camera footage, but also the audio and everything. Just really, really liked how they laid everything out here. I think they did a superb job with this briefing video. Probably one of the better ones that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of these videos. So anyway, aside from giving them a shout out for doing a really good job on this video, let's get into it. So this guy, he's walking around and he has waved a gun at a person in a car. Now, it's hard to say, what exactly was going on in that incident. Was he just walking down the sidewalk and then this car was coming down the road and stopped at a stop sign and then he just waved a gun at the car to try and freak him out, and there was no interaction whatsoever between him and that person beforehand? I don't think so. There's no information that indicates what exactly went on between him and the caller, or if anything went on at all. But I kind of doubt that the caller was just happened to be driving by, stopped at the stop sign, or pulled up to outside their house or whatever, and then this dude just came up and flashed his gun at them randomly. I don't see that. I think that there was probably some kind of interaction between the caller and this guy. Maybe this guy was walking across the street and the person in the car stopped and blew their horn at him, or told him to get the fuck out of the road, or something like that. Not saying that this guy would have had a right to flash his gun at someone who gave him the bird or told him to get out of the road or blew the horn at him, whatever. But something, in my opinion, had to have transpired between those two, in order to make him want to flash his gun at him. This dude's he's a criminal. Why? Which, I mean, criminals don't always make the wisest decisions anyway. Henceforth, while they're criminals, they do stupid shit. But this dude's he's been around the block. Like, this is not his first time being involved in crime or the criminal justice system or anything like that. It's not like he fell on hard times all of a sudden and he's having just this this midlife crisis and this breakdown. He's been going on in this criminal lifestyle for a minute, and I just don't see someone like that just wanting to go up to someone random and flash a gun at them. Why take that risk? Why bring that heat upon you when there was no interaction whatsoever between you and the person? So like I said, I think that there was some type of interaction between him and the 911 caller. To what extent that is, I don't know. But I think there was some type of interaction there. So I don't know much about this area. I'm not from Ferguson or anything like that. Probably just like everyone else. The only thing I know about Ferguson is they had some really bad riots several years back when there was an officer-involved shooting that made national news. I did a search for crime rates, and this area was shaded in a darker color of purple, indicating that there was a lot of crime that occurred within this area. When they show the aerials on here of the houses, like, they don't look like rundown properties or anything like that. Like, they look like they're kind of okay houses. But you just kind of, I don't know, you can kind of get that feel of it just from looking at it and everything, that it might not be, the best neighborhood. It's obviously, I wouldn't say a rich neighborhood or anything like that. I don't think the elites of Ferguson are living in this neighborhood or anything. But it's also, like, I don't see it as the ghetto or anything like that. So I'm not really sure, what this dude was doing over here in this neighborhood. That Carson Road, when I look it up on maps, so the Carson Road goes all the way to Fluorescent Road, and that's kind of like a business road, I guess you say. There's a lot of stuff along this road, a lot of restaurants and businesses and everything. And it's not that far of a walk from that business road to the area where they're at on Carson and Harvey. And the Carson Road, if you keep on going, it actually connects to Martin Luther King Boulevard, and it goes into more neighborhood areas, and it actually take you to I-70. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the area of Ferguson very well. I don't know what this dude was doing over here. He may have lived over there. He may have had friends that lived over there. He may have been walking through the area. I really have no idea what he was doing in the area. And I kind of wish that they would kind of maybe explain a little bit of background to, like, why is he in this area? His big old backpack with that big old bag of weed. I certainly just don't think that he was out on a leisurely stroll trying to find a comfortable place to smoke his whole bag of weed there. I would say he probably had some customers in mind, maybe, or I don't know. But anyway, the neighborhood, like I said, when I looked it up, it showed that, there was some crime in this neighborhood, but it doesn't look like a very, very rough neighborhood by any means. So I just wish there was a little bit more background on, kind of what he was doing in that area. It's also, so the complainant said that they didn't want any contact, and I perceive that as meaning they don't want to talk to police. personally, with not everything, but there's just some things where, like in this case, this person has reported that a person has pointed or flourished a gun at them. Well, if they're the only person who's called in about this, and no one else is called in, and they don't want to meet with police to, have this person arrested, have charges brought up against them, or nothing like that, I really don't see the point in sending the police to it. If that person doesn't want to step up to the plate and meet with the police and do something formally about this, then why are the police going to be wasting their time going and dealing with this guy? And one of my previous videos, there was a guy who made it seem like there was a dude going around waving a gun at people, and he was the only person who called, and it ended up being a suicide by police kind of incident. Now, obviously, that tactic, wouldn't work for everything. There's some things, you got some single call-ins that, police would need to be able to respond to or something like that. But when it comes to something like this, where this person is reporting to be a victim of a crime, but they're not willing to meet with police to, give a report or give a statement or anything like that, then what are the police going to do? What are they going to go investigate? If they don't have a witness who's going to testify that this person pointed a gun at them, what are they going to do? Go find someone who matches the description and ask them if they were pointing a gun at someone? Like, who's going to admit to that? I just think sometimes it's a waste of resources for the police to respond to every single call. And I think that it would do a lot of areas really good if the police just told people, call someone else. We're not coming to that. I think the police are called for way too much stuff, and I think that really bogs down police services when they're going on bullshit calls. I really do. And you know what? This one, even though this guy was an actual legit criminal doing bad shit and was someone that needed to be caught, I still wouldn't feel bad just based off the fact there's only one person who called in about this and didn't want to meet with police. Wouldn't feel bad if they just said, okay, well, if you want to press charges, call us back. Otherwise, we're not going out there. Wouldn't have no problem with that whatsoever.
Body-worn cameras assigned to However,
a gunshot detection system used to reliably detect an accurate shot spotter is a gunshot detection system used to reliably.
So, Shot Spotter. It's kind of interesting. What Shot Spotter is it's a system that you can put in place where there are multiple microphones installed all across the city, and all these microphones are tied into a computer, and it's able to detect sounds of gunfire. And because there's a multitude of different microphones involved and they're all listening, each microphone can measure the different decibels of that gunshot, and the distance between these microphones is, of course, in the computer. The computer is able to do the calculation and give a triangulation on where these gunshots have occurred based off, microphone 1 detected at these decibels, microphone 2 detected it at these decibels, microphone 3 detected it at these decibels, microphone 4 detected it at these decibels, and this is where they're at, and this is where the sound was the strongest, and voila, you got a triangulation. It's an interesting system, and it can alert police to shots being fired in areas where people in areas are less likely to want to call the police. So it's nice in that regard. So the police kind of have an idea of like, oh, hey, there's some shots going on over on whatever street, then they can kind of head on over that way before someone eventually decides to call 911, if they ever do. And they might be able to find victims as a result of this. A lot of times they show up and there's no one there. Witnesses, of course, saw nothing, don't want to get involved. Sometimes they find casings, but that's it. But then sometimes they find people. Sometimes they find people who've been shot. I don't remember how much they cost, but it's a lot of money, and I just don't think that it's really truly worth it, because all you're doing is you're detecting shots being fired outside. It's not like it can detect gunfire inside a house or anything like that. So if people are out on the street shooting at each other, yeah, it's going to detect it and let the police know. But that's about it. It might provide some good evidentiary nature to it, some value to that, being able to tie down exactly when a shot was fired and how many shots were fired. But other than that, I personally kind of think it's a waste of money. But it's still cool.
Detect and accurately triangulate the locations of gunshots.
The Ferguson Police Department assists. Suspicious person.
He said something along the lines of the suspect was looking for Georgia.
There.
31, you can show me 10-8. I'll be in route. 31 clear, 10-8. 31 the area. 31 clear. And 56 at 1042.
To Marguerite.
10-4.
Tiffin.
Excuse me. So here's another aerial view. Like I said, it doesn't look like it's a really run-down area or anything like that. It's obviously an older neighborhood. I did some light searching. These are early 1900s houses spread out throughout here, from early 1900s to mid 1900s. Obviously not a brand new neighborhood or anything like that. But it just doesn't look run down. So I would really, kind of like to know more about the neighborhood, just from curiosity's sake. But again, that kind of goes into my nagging question of, what the hell is this guy doing out walking around with a bag full of weed in a little neighborhood like this? Like, I don't foresee him going door to door, making sales. And I mean, he could have been living in the area, and people knew to come there to get stuff from him. Maybe I don't know. I'd just like to know more about him and his ties to this area.
Avenue and South Marguerite Avenue.
What's interesting about this red Explorer is it don't look like it has moved any. I found a picture on Zillow when I was looking up the property, and I don't know if it's a red Explorer, but that red SUV was sitting in that same spot. So I think that SUV has been kind of planted there for a long time. That, or the person, parks it in the same spot all the time, and it just appears to be something that's been there for a long time.
Those county officers began searching the wooded area between the and his hands, discharging his and proceeded south toward the front of the residence. The south 627 Tiffin Avenue.
Okay, so this aerial view right here, and the path of the officers coming through, I think this is really interesting. So he fires a shot at one of these officers over here, and one of them returns fire. This is a crossfire situation right here. So if this guy's over in here, and he fires around at this guy, and this guy fires back, well, if these officers are back here in this area, well, they could potentially be hit in the crossfire. Or if they start shooting, and their line of fire is going towards this way. They could hit officers over here. In nighttime, when you're dealing with this kind of terrain, having that full situational awareness of exactly where everyone is at can be kind of difficult. Even though, these guys are shining flashlights, they're still in heavy wooded area with a lot of vegetation, and that can block some of the light reaching out here. You might see slivers of light and stuff coming through the trees and whatnot, but it can actually mask a lot of the light coming out, and they might not be able to know exactly for sure where these officers are at. So trying to have a good bearing on where everyone's at when it comes to terrain where there's woods and stuff like that being involved, it's actually pretty difficult. And this is where I think that night vision would have been a big game changer for them. And I think that night vision in and of itself obviously is a game changer, and I would like to see it get utilized more often. The prices for that stuff has come down over the years. It's a little bit more feasible for agencies to purchase these things and get them out to their people. If not every single officer having one, then at least being able to have at least a few sets out for night shift to be able to use. These officers here in the woods were equipped with night vision. They would be able to go search through these woods without using a flashlight, and the suspect would have had no idea where they were at. And utilizing infrared flashlights, infrared strobes, they could have those turned on and be marking their location continuously, and then people around who have night vision could look in this area and they could see the blinking infrared lights from a helmet strobe or from an infrared illuminator from a rifle or something like that beaming around. They'll be able to see that and have an idea of where friendly forces are. And then the bad guy would have absolutely no idea where anyone's at unless he heard them, crunching through the leaves and stuff like that. With the night vision, having infrared illuminators and lasers, they would have been able to, once they get sight of this guy, be able to put a infrared laser on him, and he would have no idea that he has a laser on him, and they would be able to take a shot without him knowing where they're at exactly. Someone could have taken a shot in the dark, and he had been none the wiser where it came from. These officers are having to search with white light, and if you've never been on the receiving end of being searched for at night when people are walking around with flashlights, then it's going to be something you can't maybe fully grasp. But when you are the one, when you're the rabbit and the one being hunted, and people are searching for you and they're using flashlights, you get to know exactly where they are, and they have no idea where you are. When you see those lights, not only do you know exactly where they are, but you know exactly what they're looking at and what they're not looking at. You know when those flashlight beams are not pointed at you and when they are pointed in your direction. So you know when to move and when not to move. You have better situational awareness when you're the one being searched for than the people doing the searching. And that's where night vision, in my opinion, really comes in and just destroys the arena. Like, when I say game changer, like, it just destroys the arena, because then you take that privilege away from the rabbit. They have no idea where the hell you are when you're walking around with nods on. They have no clue. They can't see that infrared flashlight that you're using that only your night vision can pick up. They can't see that with their naked eye. The only sense that would clue them in to where you're at is sound. Hear you coming through the woods. and or if the wind's just right, and depending on how close you are, smell. Other than that, visually, they're not going to see you when you're using night vision and infrared devices to search around. So night vision in this setting, I think, would have been a great thing to use, but not everyone has them, and they're not cheap enough to be able to get them widespread issued out. But I see that changing in probably the next 10 years. I think you might see more agencies start to issue more of this stuff, especially like PVS 14s, little night vision binoculars. I think those are going to be probably the first things to be able to go out to people, widespread use, and then your dual tubes, higher end stuff is obviously going to still be more reserved for your specialty units. But I could see in the next 10 years some PVS 14s making it out to regular patrol guys on a little bit more wide scale use, hopefully, because it is a game changer.
Subject. The officer fired a shot. Ferguson
Securely into an officer's unit by the St. Louis County Police Department
captured the incident.
Body-worn cameras used by the St. Louis County Police Department are smart devices.
So this company, Rocket IoT, they basically use phones as their cameras. There's an agency in my area that has gotten some of these, and they're going to be transitioning to these. Other than that, I don't know much else about them. I looked them up online when I saw on the news that a local agency was getting them. They're freaking huge. I mean, they're
devices that fit securely in.
Oh, didn't pause it just in time.
Body-worn cameras used by the St. Louis County Police Department are smart devices that fit securely.
Well, she moved it too quick, but I mean, it's a whole freaking phone right there. I mean, that thing is freaking huge. And like, one of the cool things about it, if you go into a horizontal position, like laying down for too long, it can alert people that you're laying down. It's like an officer down kind of alert thing. That's kind of cool. But this thing is freaking huge. It takes up a lot of space. And I just don't really see a big benefit in utilizing something like that when a company like Axon has pretty good cameras. I'm a fan of the Axon body cameras. I think they're pretty good. I think they've done a really good job on designing cameras and having the infrastructure in place for them and everything. There's other companies that make body cameras, and there's pros and cons with them and everything, but it's just not a really great turnkey solution like the Axon body cameras are.
Into an officer's uniform. The cameras.
Now, this is kind of an interesting design where the uniform has like this permanent hole in it so that when you put the camera under the shirt, the little lens pops out. That's kind of nice so that you don't have like this big, blocky looking thing on the front of the uniform. You kind of retain that more traditional looking uniform look. And it takes away the magnetic mounts that fall off too often. So that's a nice thing right there, but still the big ass camera under there, man.
Have a 30-second buffer of video without audio. Upon activation, the cameras have a 30-second buffer of video without audio. Upon activation.
So this one you can see that, the uniform shirt has the hole in it and the jacket has the hole in it. So that's a lot of modifications to be doing to uniforms just to accommodate this camera. So, officers are given, 4 or 5 sets of uniform tops. Jackets, not that many jackets. You might have a couple different jackets at most. Most places just going to be one camera. But as far as uniform tops, you're going to have at least maybe 4 or 5 sets. So then you got to go have all those uniform tops modified, have this little ring thing put in it, have your jackets modified. That's a lot of modification of uniforms and having these things installed. So that's a big cost in and of itself.
The camera goes back 30 seconds and begins recording. On activation, the camera goes back 30.
So you can see how huge this thing is. Like, this thing is monstrous. I mean, it takes up a lot of space. Not the biggest fan of this camera.
30 seconds and begins recording. The cameras are worn at chest level by most officers assigned body movement. Cameras worn by the Ferguson Police Department and the North County.
Now, this is an Axon body camera. It looks like it's huge because I think this is a tiny person holding it. I mean, when you look at the lapel mic right here in comparison to the hand, like, that thing looks pretty big. So I think this is kind of a smaller, petite person holding this camera, and so it just looks kind of big. They're not that huge looking. They don't take up a whole lot of space, in my opinion, and I think they're just a better overall design and infrastructure as far as body cameras go.
Police cooperative are affixed to the outermost garment of the officer's uniform and worn approximately at chest level. They, too, have a 30-second buffer.
The following body-worn officer, police officer.
One of ours, or what? Yep.
So this dude's got a pretty decent light. I don't know what it is, but it's throwing out a lot of light.
2190 on law 1. Comms check. Grief Coy, you're loud and clear.
You can see movement right here. I'll back this up 5 more seconds. Just gonna pay attention right in there.
Come on, let me see you! Let me see your hands! 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 No! Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
So he comes out and he shoots.
No!
Frank 33. Tripping a day, shot fire. Tripping a day. Frank 33. Tripping a day, shot fire. Tripping a day.
So before going any further, let's talk about pistols versus rifles. It does not appear from looking at all the footage that anyone has a rifle out, and that's wrong in my opinion. So that, I guess you could say this is the biggest mistake out of all of them. There was not a rifle out in play. And unfortunately, that's a common thing when you see these videos all across the nation. The police just are not getting their rifles out when they're supposed to be getting them out. And I think that kind of boils down to being it's kind of like a multifaceted thing, a culture thing where, on a daily basis, police, they're not going to gunfights every damn day, multiple times a day, right? So the bulk of what they do does not require the use of them getting out of the car and grabbing their rifle. So it's not a muscle memory thing or a instinctual thing for them to do, because most of what they do is a bunch of mundane bullshit. Taking reports, dealing with a shoplifter, yada, yada, yada. Of course, there are gun calls and stuff they go to, someone with a gun threatening people, blah, blah, blah. But the bulk of what they do is just, not to downsize them or anything, but bulk of what they do is bullshit. And they're not having to get their rifles out on every single call they go to. So it's second nature to them to just get out of the car and go and not even think about grabbing a rifle. So that's what I mean by kind of like a culture thing. And that could also be something that is compounded by policies and procedures. Some agencies may have policies and procedures in place to where if you pull your rifle out of that rifle rack, you got to write a report. There's actually some agencies that have officers write a report anytime they take their handgun out of their holster while on duty at a call. That's asinine. That's a recipe for disaster right there when you are making it a burden for officers to pull their guns out of their holsters. That makes them not want to pull their guns out of their holsters when they need to be pulling their guns out of their holsters. And that kind of bullshit is going to get officers hurt and or killed. And I would argue that the agencies that have these policies in place for rifles, where you got to write a report or notify a supervisor if you get the rifle out or if you rack the pump on a shotgun, blah, 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 that's asinine. That needs to go away. That is only putting officers in danger because it's creating this this mindset, this culture of, well, if you get that out, you're going to have to write a report. And so they just don't end up getting it out when they need to be getting it out. And I think some of it probably also has some training and stuff involved with it. A lack of good gunfighting training. So if you're going to a gunfight, you want to bring a rifle and you want to bring your friends with rifles. Rifles will outperform pistols every day of the week. No argument whatsoever. No competition. But it is more comfortable and convenient to carry a pistol. And that kind of also plays into the culture thing, I guess you could say. You can go a whole shift with a gun, with a pistol on your side and not think much of it. It's comfortable and convenient. Rifles, on the other hand, are not comfortable. They're not convenient. They're kind of cumbersome. They kind of get in the way. If you got it slung to your front and you're walking, the barrel and stuff's going to be banging into your knees. You start to sling it and everything. Your stock or your muzzle be raking against things and knocking things over, blah, blah, blah. Pistol cartridges will kill. They will incapacitate, but they don't do it as well as rifle cartridges do. They don't excel very well as rifle cartridges do. There's a popular case out of Florida, Miami, Florida, between FBI and some bank robbers back in the 80s. And these guys took multiple rounds from pistol caliber guns. And they stayed in the fight. And they were able to kill 2 FBI agents and severely wound others in this gun battle. And one was shot in the head at the very beginning of the fight. It only temporarily knocked him out. Another took a round to the side of his chest. Round started going to his heart. He was going to die from that. He just did not immediately die from it. He also took more rounds from pistols and was able to go on and kill 2 agents and severely wound others. And many other times, people have been shot with pistol and they were able to stay in the fight and continue fighting and continue to harm people or kill people. There's been people who have been able to continue after being hit with rifle, but the occurrences are not as high as they are with pistol. A lot of people have survived being shot with pistol and continue to be able to fight. Not a whole lot of people can survive rifle hits and continue to fight. Rifle rounds are really, really freaking devastating. And that is one reason why, not one reason, that is the reason why rifles are better for gunfights. They will put the threat down fast. And I really wish that, there could be this paradigm shift in how law enforcement regards rifles and gets them out when it comes to calls like this. Unfortunately, it just hasn't happened yet, but it needs to happen. And I think that, and it sucks that this is the reasoning why it's going to have to go this way and make this change. But this freaking war on police, where people are attacking the police and just shooting at them, I think that can be a driving force behind having police change their mindset on using rifles versus pistols. Because as time goes on, until our country abandons this being woke bullshit and tells these people to who are saying the police are racist murderers and blah blah blah, until our society tells those kind of people to sit down and shut the fuck up and put them in their place, we're going to continue to see attacks on law enforcement and law enforcement being hurt in large numbers. And I think that can lead to officers adopting or embracing more the use of a rifle when they start to see more and more officers across the country die in gunfights because, the pistols just aren't doing a good enough job and the fight goes on for too long, and the rifles are going to be the game stopper. They're going to stop the fight a lot quicker, and they're going to save lives when they start getting put into more use. So it's inevitable, in my opinion. It's going to happen. It's just, I wish it would happen sooner than later. I think it's going to be a slow progression, but I do foresee there being a change in this country with law enforcement embracing the use of rifles more often. And it's, like I said, that's only going to come about because of this bullshit war on police. So, anyway, moving on.
Clear. Clear.
On 15, you said shot fired.
Clear.
So notice he has a weapon-mounted light, but then he chooses to bring his handheld light out.
Shot fired right.
Gunfights happening right here. And he continues to proceed over to this gunfight, holding a handheld flashlight when he has a gun that has a weapon-mounted light on it. I don't know what he was thinking, but what he was doing, I don't agree with. You've got that weapon-mounted light, put it to use. Get a good two-handed grip on that gun and be more accurate with what you're going to be shooting. When you hold your gun one-handed, you of course reduce your accuracy. When you hold a handheld light in your non-dominant hand and you try to marry both hands together, do the different low light techniques or whatever, you're still shooting one-handed, even though both hands or the wrist may be touching each other, kind of maybe giving a little bit of support. It's not the same as a good solid two-handed grip on that gun. Gunfights, this is why I say all weapons need to have weapon-mounted lights so that you can abandon the handheld light and go straight to your weapon-mounted light on your gun and get to work. This right here kind of maybe makes me think that they haven't had a lot of extensive low light training, and he's still dicking around with a handheld flashlight in his hand when he just needs to be switching on the weapon-minded light and going to work with it.
Your hands! Drop it! Drop it! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! You see your hands? Let me see your hands!
Closing.
I'm not a big fan of this at all. Your hand that is holding the gun, that hand needs to be solely focused on working that gun only. It doesn't need to be used to be holding other shit. It's one or none. Like, you're either holding the gun or you're not holding the gun. You don't need to be doing all this extra shit with other stuff, because that's how negligent discharges happen. And we don't need negligent discharges. So he could have put that in his neck and kind of tilted his head and held it in place. He could have stuck that in his armpit. He could have put it back in his pouch, whatever. Trying to hold it with your gun hand that's holding the gun is not the best idea.
Pretty clear, loud and clear.
Come on, where I can see you! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand! Let me see your hand!
Now, for whatever reason, he leaves that area and comes over here. He doesn't really appear to try and take cover or anything like that. He's kind of really out in the open. Not sure what's going through his mind, but if I were him, where he was at over there, he could see that person or that movement behind that shed. That's where the shot came from. I would have posted up more or less right over here and aimed down this wall. Now, obviously, the guy came in through here. That could have been obviously detrimental for him. Or he could have come to here and taken cover behind this step right here and maintain security this way. Just coming out here out in the open in the yard like this where there's no immediate cover around, I don't think that's the greatest thing to do. Use cover to your advantage in a gunfight, because that's what's going to stop bullets. Yeah, your vest can stop a round too. That's more or less a last-ditch effort kind of thing. You want to find good, solid cover to get behind. And this big concrete porch would have been good if he wanted to take a knee right here and pull security and watch this avenue of approach. Or, he could have posted up here and aimed around the corner of the wall.
698 shots fired at me. Shots fired at me. Drop your hands! Drop your hands! Drop your hands!
So I think they both kind of scared the shit out of each other. That first round he fires misses, and you're going to hear the tire get hit, and you're going to hear it start hissing.
Drop your hands!
He does not have a weapon-minded light. He has a handheld flashlight. He is trying to get a two-handed grip on his gun while holding this flashlight, and it's not working. And it will never work. You cannot get a good, solid two-handed grip when you have another flashlight in your hand. The best way to go about that is using something like a a therm switchback device, or a Graham combat ring, something like that. Even when you're trying to do the cigar technique with a combat flashlight, that the middle of the flashlight is kind of milled out so that your fingers can kind of come together a little bit better. Even with that, you're still not getting that great of a two-handed grip. If he had a weapon-mounted light, he could have ditched that handheld light and kept that weapon-mounted light activated and have a good solid two-handed grip on that gun and deliver effective incapacitating rounds to this target. But he doesn't have a weapon-mounted light. He has a handheld light, and he's trying to marry both hands together, and it's not working too great. Also, the flashlight's not even directed at this guy. It's pointing at the fucking ground. So it's not even an effective flashlight technique.
Cover in! Cover in! 698, shots fired, shots fired! Drop the gun! 8 shots fired, shots fired!
So at this point in time, like, I get communications are important, but this dude is still an active threat. They don't know if he has a gun or not. This arm's raising. I personally, I just don't see the point in having to tell dispatch every single thing right as it happens. And this right here, the heat of the moment, you know, fuck that radio. This guy's an active threat. While you're dicking around the radio, you know, he can make an action, and now you're going to have to react to that. I think that with enough people there, obviously other people are going to be able to call on the radio, shots fired. People are going to figure out the shots have been fired. After watching so many of these videos, it just seems like there's just, people are too quick to want to get on the radio, in my opinion. They're too quick to want to get on the radio and say stuff, which, like I said, I get it. Communication is important. It lets other people know what's going on, keeps everyone organized, you can be more effective, but at the same time, sometimes, you know, you just need to stay off that radio. And in this instance right here, right now, after he just dumped rounds on this guy and this dude's still moving around, now it's not the time to be on the radio. Not at all.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! 698, shots fired, shots fired! Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop it!
Which we find out later that the gun is 10 to 15 feet away from him. Where exactly that is in relation to him, I don't know. I don't know if it's over in this area, if it's over in this area, if it's more towards this area. I have no idea exactly where it's at. But he's yelling, drop the gun, drop the gun. Obviously, this dude don't have a gun in his hand. At least right now he doesn't. You know, he may have when he had fired, and as he went down, the gun flew out of his hand and landed on the ground. But he may not have seen that. He could see that one arm up. Obviously, that one arm up, you could see the hand. That hand was empty. You can't really see his other hand very well. So at this point, I think the officer is just assuming that he's got that gun, and he's telling him to drop it. Otherwise, he can't really fully verify whether or not that guy has a gun in his hand or not. When I first saw this footage, it wasn't from this guy's angle. It was from the other person's angle. And I could hear, listen to him yelling, drop the gun, drop the gun. And, of course, with the way the body camera footage was, wasn't able to see in clarity what was going on. And I just thought that they could see that he had a gun in his hand. I remember thinking, if he's still got that gun in his hand, fuck it. stop talking. Just keep shooting. If you don't want to drop that gun, then make them. But after watching the video, it's obvious that, he don't have the gun anymore. But they continue to yell at him to drop the gun, even though they can't see if he has the gun in his hand or not. And then they transition to yelling, "Let me see your hands. Show your hands."
Start EMS! 698, get EMS, get EMS! EMS! Where we at? I don't know this address. This is...
So obviously there's multiple agencies being involved here. Having one person designated as the radio man, I think, is an important thing to think about and implement when it comes to large scale, not large scale, but big incidents like this where it's very dynamic, very chaotic. I think it's best to have one person designated as the radio guy, and they're the one who handles communications for everyone. That way, everyone else who's in that fight or needs to be focused on a task can do that. They can be focused on a task and not have to worry about trying to talk on the radio, think about what they need to say and respond to, etc. They can focus on the task at hand and get work done. Someone else could be the radio man. Now, in an incident like this, where there's multiple agencies, each agency, probably having their own dispatcher, that may be difficult, but that's also why there are mutual aid channels available. Now, I don't know this area. For all I know, they might not have mutual aid channels, but when multiple agencies are going to be working together on something like this, they need to be on a mutual aid channel. That way they can all talk to each other and their dispatchers can monitor that mutual aid channel and listen to everything that's going on. And then they're all on the same page. Versus, I'm on radio A and I'm talking to my people, but people over here on radios B, C, and D can't hear us. Like, that doesn't work very well. So mutual aid channels are an important thing to have in your radio system.
Where we at? Where we at? What's on them strike?
Alright. Yep. This is a common problem with wintertime and body cameras and jackets. Seen a lot of footage of just a zipper. Can't tell you how many times I've seen footage of just a zipper from a jacket and everything else gets missed. This is where I wish uniform manufacturers would make some more innovative clothing items that were more body camera friendly. That way you could avoid seeing a freaking zipper. So what would be cool is if a uniform manufacturer created a jacket that maybe had some zippered slits on either side of the main zipper, and for officers who wear a camera, midline chest level, they could have it stick out one of those slits right there and be able to keep their jacket zipped all the way up. That would be pretty cool. But that would also be somewhat difficult because all these agencies wear their cameras differently. Some may wear it midline and kind of in between both breast pockets. Some may wear it on the breast pocket. Some may wear it more or less on the belt. Some may wear it a little bit lower, maybe on the kind of the bottom of the chest area around the sternum, the bottom of the sternum area, kind of where the xiphoid process is. Some may even wear it a little bit higher. They may have it kind of on a outer vest on the corner near the shoulder or something like that. So it would be a little bit difficult for some uniform manufacturers to make jackets or something to accommodate all those different positions that people wear those vests on, or I'm sorry, those cameras on. But there are enough people that I think that wear it midline where a clothing manufacturer could design a jacket that had the ability to more easily accommodate a body camera. That way you could kind of stick out of the jacket and you'd be able to keep the jacket fully zipped up, because I've had the same issue too, wearing a jacket. Try to wear the jacket and it covers up the body camera, and so you have to leave the jacket kind of halfway unzipped to be able to keep the camera unobstructed and maintain visual. But then you're also sacrificing heat retention when you keep the top half of that jacket unzipped like that. You're losing heat, cold winds getting in there, making you get colder, robbing you of your core body temperature. So it sucks. And the only other alternative to that, other than modifying your jacket yourself or anything like that, is to just completely abandon wearing a jacket and go to a layered system where you wear multiple layers under your uniform so that you don't have to wear a jacket. Now, that involves a little bit more finesse, I guess you could say, a little bit more attention to detail. You've got to pay attention to what the weather's going to be like, know what the temperature is going to be like, because you don't want to put on too many layers and then you start to overheat and sweat a whole lot. And you don't want to put on too few layers, because then you're going to get cold real easily, and then you're going to have to put that jacket on. So a layering system is I think the best approach, and a jacket can still be kept and utilized for more static kind of things, like directing traffic, standing out in the open, something like that, having that jacket on. But when it comes to like actual doing work and stuff like that, I have started to, for winter time, just kind of abandon the whole jacket thing and go with the layered system where I don't have to worry about having a jacket on. Now, like I said, I'll still keep that jacket and use it for more static stuff, just standing around kind of stuff where I'm not actually actively doing something. But if I get to the point where I'm starting to actively do something, I'll shed that jacket and leave it in the car. We don't see much from this person's view because the camera's blocked the entire time by the jacket. And of course it's 1 and 2. There we go.
Yep. Off.
Stand by.
So searching in the woods at night kind of sucks. Your light is obstructed by all these trees and these limbs and these leaves and the foliage and everything. So it blocks light from getting out, and it also causes light to be reflected back at you. So a light-colored tree branch or something like that is going to reflect light. Leaves and stuff, they got a sheen to them that can reflect light back to you, and kind of creates I don't know if you want to call it a photonic barrier, but it kind of sort of creates kind of like a photonic barrier in a way, because you got a lot of light reflecting back at you. And these objects also, on top of reflecting light, they stop the light from going very far, and because there's multiple objects, they create additional shadows, and these shadows move. So as you're moving and your flashlight goes from here to here, it creates a shadow on this object, and then you see that shadow move, and then it makes you think that there's something over there when really it's not. It's just a freaking shadow moving. So it can slow you down because you're seeing all this extra movement that you think is something, but it's not, because it's just the freaking shadows moving around. This is where night vision, in my opinion, is a really great tool for searching at night. Because although you can still obviously have splashback from a infrared light when using night vision, the infrared light can still splash back off the trees and stuff like that, and you still have shadows and stuff that are being created. But that person that's out there, they don't know exactly where you're at. So I can guarantee you that right now, these officers, when they're trumping through the woods here with their flashlights turned on, that dude's watching them. He knows where they're at. He knows they're getting closer. And that's why I think you see him kind of, earlier, when you see him kind of come around that garage, he's wanting to keep on moving because he knows they're about to get to him. He knows exactly where they're at. He's watching them the entire time. This image you have right here, this dude's out there somewhere knowing exactly where they're at. And they have no idea where he's at. If he wanted to, he could start aiming his gun at the source of these lights and start shooting at them very easily, and maybe even get a lucky hit. With night vision, they ain't got a clue where you're at. Not a damn clue. The only time they have a clue where you're at is if A, they got night vision, which is not going to be likely. But the more likely thing is they're going to hear you. They're going to hear you step on branches, step on leaves, stuff like that. Or if the wind's blowing right and you got enough cologne and perfume on, or your ass just stinks, it's going to carry that scent towards them. They're going to smell you. The other thing that sucks is this shit right here, these little fucking branches. I can't tell you how many times I've almost lost a freaking eyeball searching in the woods at night for someone. If you're going to be going through the woods at night, you definitely need eye protection. Some good clear eye pro. I've been pretty fortunate, pretty lucky that I have not had a freaking eye stabbed out by a freaking branch. I've come close. I've had branches poke me in the forehead and the cheek, and to the side of the like temple area, getting close to the eye. I've had some close calls, but that's real danger right there. These little twigs and shit sticking out that could poke you in your eye. And that would suck, trying to search for someone, and then boom, you get poked in the eye, and you're sitting there in pain, and one eye squinted, and then boom, the fight starts. Like, that would be a crappy situation to be in. Here you are, reeling in pain, thinking you've just lost your eye, and then bam, now you're in a gunfight. Like, talk about a shit sandwich. The other thing, too, is when you're dealing with multiple people. If you're up front and someone shines a light like this, they now silhouette you. So that person that's out there, not only can they see this light turn on, but if you're behind someone and you're lighting the backside of them up, you are silhouetting them. So that person who's out there can actually see that human shape when you backlight someone like that. That's another thing that sucks about being in the woods at night with flashlights.
Right behind you.
Where you at?
Trying to get a better location.
Hands!
Trying to get a
So he's able to get a good two-handed grip on his gun because he has a weapon-mounted light. He's not dicking around with a handheld light. He's got a weapon-mounted light on this gun. He's able to get a good two-handed grip. He's able to sight down really well, get his sights on target, and get good rounds off.
better location.
Hey!
What is your location?
Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? We're straight. Tillman. Tiffin. What's other straight?
Car 2802, what is your location?
What is it? Tiffin in South Margaret. Tiffin in South Margaret. Good. Multiple shots fired.
So it's interesting, in a way, to see guns with hammers on them. You know, I'm so used to seeing Glocks, and kind of it's almost nostalgic in a way, I guess you could say, to see a hammer fired gun versus a striker fired gun. I'm pretty sure this is a Smith & Wesson, just based off the slide design and what looks like the decocker right there, which, you know, SIG's a really good gun, but still, it's still, you know, after seeing, you know, Glocks, just predominantly Glocks all the freaking time, or, you know, like M&Ps all the freaking time, when you see a gun with a hammer on it, you know, you pause and you're like, hey, what's that? Because you just, you know, see the hammer sticking out on guns very often in these videos. It's always, you know, looking at the back end of a Glock or an M&P or something like that.
That's their multiple shots fired, Carson and Margaret.
Where's the gun at?
Now, this guy right here, this is a sign of a lack of good low light training. So you'll notice this is his gun hand, right? He's got the gun in this hand. This hand has the flashlight. This hand is on top of the gun hand, right behind the gun.
35. Got movement behind a house at Tiffin in South Marguerite.
That is not a good place to be putting your hand in light. It needs to go on the underside of the gun hand. How he has it right now, he could run into a situation where if he starts shooting, that slide's going to come back and hit his hand or hit that flashlight. And that could cause the gun not to eject the empty casing fully. It could cause the slide not to be able to go all the way back and be able to strip around out of the magazine and get it loaded in. That's just not a good technique at all. And like I said, that kind of makes me think that this guy has not had a whole lot of low-light firearms training. And if he has had some low-light firearms training, then it's been a while since he's gone through a course and has been corrected in his way of handling. So I think this is the guy who has a little bit more time on. He's been around for a little bit. He should know better than to hold the flashlight like this. But it's, you know, he's obviously been able to go on for so long without being corrected.
Right up here.
This is another thing that sucks about going through the woods at night with a flashlight and looking for people. So when you're searching, you're beaming your light around, not only are you having to look out to see if that person's there, but you're also having to divert your eyes down to the ground to look for shit like this, rocks sticking up that you could trip over, or like a rabbit hole that you could step in and roll an ankle, or a downed branch or something that you could trip up on. There's a lot of stuff to trip over out in the woods. So you're having to do this constant eyes down, eyes up, eyes down, eyes up, and also looking for these freaking branches that are going to come out and poke your eyeballs out. So searching at night in the woods it presents a lot of challenges. It really does. And like I said, when you're using white light, it can be a slow, tedious process, and it's really dangerous. That's why I'm a big fan of using night vision to go search through the woods at night. So I don't think that he fires any. It doesn't look like he fires. I don't see a big plume coming out or anything like that. But if he did fire, like I said, it makes me wonder with his hand being over top like this, if it would have caused an issue with the slide being able to fully reciprocate and go back.
Head! Let me see your fucking head! Yes, EMS! Where we at?
Now identified in St. Louis, Missouri, age 35. The subject, now identified as Jeremy Moore, age 35, of the 3500 block of North Newstead in St. Louis, Missouri, was rendered life-saving aid by first responders, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Mr. Moore died at the scene. In total, 20 gunshots were fired by law enforcement officers. A handgun attributed to Mr. Moore was recovered on the scene by officers. The weapon is described as a Glock Model 23, 40 caliber. The handgun was located in the grass approximately 10.5 feet from Mr. Moore. Here is a still image taken by the crime scene unit.
So this is an older model Glock. There's no tactical rail on there
Of the firearm involved.
Some people kind of regard these older model Glocks as like collector items. I personally don't. I mean, I wouldn't want it because it doesn't have a rail on it. I like being able to have a rail on there to put a weapon-mounted light on there. But some people they're all about, finding these older model Glocks that don't have the rails on them. There's just, I don't know. Some people got different kinks.
A fired cartridge casing, which was recovered from the rear of 627 Tiffin Avenue, has been identified as having been fired in the Glock handgun attributed to.
So I'm not sure if they just ejected the magazine and it's just kind of partially sitting out, or if this guy found an extendo to be able to put into his gun.
Mr. Moore.
The street crowd is very enthralled, I guess you could say, with extendos. It's a fan favorite, I guess you could say. They really like the extended magazines. And just like any other person would like an extended magazine, you get more rounds out of it, right? But like I said, I don't know if they just ejected the magazine and have it kind of partially sitting in there, if this is an actual extended magazine of some sort.
A black and white backpack was recovered from the rear yard of the home in the 600 block of Wesley Avenue. It was in the same yard that Mr. Moore reportedly fired gunshots at Ferguson police. The backpack and its contents cartridges were missing, leaving 100.
So the older model Glock plus the ammo and the boxes, obviously this dude's a felon. He didn't go to the gun store and buy this stuff, right? So where'd he come into contact with this? I would suspect that this is probably stolen. If it's not stolen, then it was purchased by someone who was able to legally purchase it, or at least the gun, not the ammo, They were able to legally purchase the gun, and then they either decided to sell it to someone in a private sale and ended up selling it to him, either because they didn't know he was a felon or they intentionally bought it themselves with the intentions of selling it to him because they knew he couldn't go to the store and buy it himself. But my bet is going towards it's probably a stolen gun. Criminals, they like to steal shit, and this guy's a felon, and chances are he's probably stole it. If he didn't steal this, then he bought it as stolen.
175 of 200 cartridges. The caliber and brand of ammunition recovered from the backpack matched the ammunition found in the Glock handgun attributed to Mr. Moore. Also in the backpack was a substantial quantity of purported marijuana.
This is not an amount consistent with personal use. That's a lot of weed. I don't care how big of a pothead you are. Like, you're not buying this much for personal use at one freaking time. I certainly believe that he is selling this stuff. Now, it's obviously not packaged or anything like that. I'd say he probably got the big bag from somewhere. He's going to take it and get it divvied up into individual stuff and sell it. Or he could be selling it by this weight. He could be He could have been going to somewhere in the area to drop this off to someone for a sale. I kind of seriously doubt this is his own personal stash that he was planning on smoking on his own. Like, I seriously doubt that as he's walking around and waves a gun at a person, he was just on his way to find a quiet little place to toke up. Like, I seriously doubt that. This is trafficking. Like, he's selling this stuff. Either he's selling it by this big ass bag to someone, or he's got it from someone. He's going to take it and bag it up into smaller quantities and sell it that way. And I'm sure that there will probably be people who might chime in on the comments and talk about how there's it's just a plant, it don't hurt anybody. It needs to be legalized. The war on drugs is a failure. That's kind of the common shit that you see from people anytime there's any kind of police related video involving marijuana. All those people, they always love to chime in and say that the war on drugs is a failure and it's just a plant and it's going to be legalized, blah blah blah. Those are just a bunch of potheads. What better way for you to tell people you're a pothead without telling them you're a pothead when you go on social media and talk about, the war on drugs is a failure. It's just a plant, blah, blah, blah. Okay, pothead, calm down.
The investigation revealed Mr. Moore was previously convicted of both felony and misdemeanor offenses. The investigation also revealed there was an active warrant for Mr. Moore's arrest at the time of this incident. The warrant was issued through the United States Attorney's Office, Southern District of Illinois, for felon in possession of a firearm.
For felon possession of a firearm. And he's had other prior felony convictions. Now, to what the extent of what those felony convictions are, I don't really know. But this is an unfortunate thing that we see in our society. We see criminals with long criminal backgrounds still out on the streets. Violent offenders, violent criminals with long rap sheets still out on the streets. It's mind-boggling. It really is. And it's sad. It's sad that our society has gotten to this point where it's seemingly okay to just let violent offenders run amok. Just let them loose. They can go out and do whatever. They can go out, commit crimes. They can get a sweet plea deal. They get a sweet deal, get their charges amended down, and spend a little bit of time in, don't spend a whole lot of time in, get out, do a little bit of probation, get caught for something when they're on probation, that's okay. Just pay a little fine. You still stay on the streets. Never have their probation or their parole revoked. Takes an act of Congress to get that done. It's sad. It's like this society has begun to cater to the criminals, and it's obviously not helping. It's not going anywhere, not anywhere good. When you go to some place like New York, Chicago, other large cities that have this, restorative justice, reformed justice bullshit, you see rampant crime. You see people living in fear. Atlanta, like some of these are just some straight up horrible places to live. You couldn't pay me to go live in Chicago. There's no way you could ever pay me to go live up there. Wouldn't do it. And it's sad. Like I said, it's sad that these violent offenders get to have such a free pass in life. Like they don't spend a whole lot of time locked up. They get these sweet plea deals, etc. And it's bullshit. If this area would have been a little bit harder on crime, and kept his ass locked up, would this situation have occurred? Probably not. Could he have gotten himself involved in a situation where he would have shot at police at another time? Maybe. It's possible. But I can guarantee you that he probably, with his criminal background, he probably had enough stuff that could have kept him locked up for a long time, and he would not have been able to be out on the streets during this time frame to do this. He probably would have been sitting on some time in prison and still having to be serving time in prison if he had actually been forced to serve the full extent of what he could have been served. But instead, just like all these other criminals, let out early, given a sweet deal, put on probation, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, going on a rant. So I'll end it at that. Not much else to say on this video. Just kind of a recap, pistols versus rifles. They're going to a gun call. They know there's a gun involved. They should have gotten out with rifles. Low light tactics. That's something that doesn't need to be skimped on in training. Needs to be practiced on some. Utilization of night vision when searching through wooded areas. That's a game changer right there. I think that's all the things I touched on. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.